Hello, my beautiful souls, and welcome back to the podcast. On today's episode, I speak with Hannah Hembree Bell. She's an award winning Austin family lawyer, a mom of four, and the founder and CEO of one of the fastest growing family law firms in the country. She herself went through a pretty difficult divorce, and she took the lessons that she learned during that time and turned those into a national community helping women to prepare wisely for divorce called My Confident Divorce. I'll put the link to that in the show notes. Most of that community is free, so if that's where you are on your journey, please head over to that link and check out what Hannah has to offer. We are going to talk about why divorce in midlife is rising so dramatically. And I'm going to give you some statistics at the beginning of the interview, but just to give you a little teaser, divorce in people between the ages of 45 and 70 and beyond is rapidly rising, and 3/4 of those divorces are initiated by women. And I think those numbers reflect what is happening for women in this stage of their life right now in our culture. And Hannah and I talk about why we're seeing these rising numbers, what we can do if we really want to try to avoid divorce, excuse me, and what we need to do to prepare and protect ourselves and protect our children if divorce is just simply unavoidable. So if you either have a beautiful, perfect marriage, you have a marriage that's kind of meh, or you're seriously contemplating divorce, this episode is for you. We talk about all types of partnerships along the spectrum, and how we can make them better, save them, or make a courageous choice to end them if that's really what needs to happen. And I think that this speaks directly to this episode, and what we talk about speaks directly to what we talk about on this show a lot, which is self-discovery and stepping in to who you were really meant to be, leaving behind a life that feels just okay, kind of blah, kind of unfulfilling. And after divorce, I'd not heard this term before. Hannah shared it with me, the divorce glow up, right? How can you glow up in your own life? And that doesn't mean you need to get a divorce, but if you're looking for a glow up in your own life, that is the work that I do. This is what I help women do, even though I've never used that term before, though I love it and I may continue using it. I help women glow up in their own lives, to take their lives that feel stuck, that feel unfulfilling, where they feel anxious, where they feel like they're just on the hamster wheel and they can't seem to get off, doing the same thing day after day after day after day, and help them uncover why they're really here, what they're really meant to be doing, and how they can create a life that feels grown up, that feels exciting, that feels passionate, that feels purposeful, and that feels fulfilling. So if that is something you are looking for, please use the link in my show notes or head over to my website, katiefrenas.com, to book a free discovery call. There is no obligation. We will just chat and see if my coaching container is the right fit for you. If you want to step into a life that feels deeply deeply like yourself, feels meaningful, feels impactful, feels exciting, then head over there, book the call, and let's have a conversation. All right, now on to the show. All right, Hannah, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here and have this important conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Katie. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, we're going to talk today about divorce in midlife, which there's a new term, at least it's new to me, floating around called gray divorce. And it is reflecting the statistics that are popping up around divorce in midlife. And just to give everyone an idea of what's going on. In the 1990s, the divorce rate for people over the age of 45 was about 8 to 9%. It's now 36%.
Mm,
The divorce rate for people over 50 has more than doubled, and the divorce rate for people over 65 has more than tripled, which
yeah.
is wild to me. And 3/4 of those divorces are initiated by if it's a heterosexual couple, is initiated by the female in the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're seeing massive rises in numbers of divorce in this midlife phase. And I think that that's why this is such an important conversation that we're going to talk about why that's happening, and how if we really would like to try to not get divorced,
Right.
what we can do to maybe help our marriage get back on track. But then also, if that's just not possible and divorce is what's needed, how we can, make divorce do it the best possible way. So that's why you're here, just to talk about all three of those things. So thank you for being here and sharing your expertise with my audience. If you could just give them a brief introduction to what it is that you do and why it's so important to you, why you're passionate about this topic.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Hannah Hembry Bell, and I am a divorce lawyer. And I think that's important to know. I myself am divorced, have been through a huge custody drama, and still do this as my day job. I guess my day job involves going on a decent bit of podcasts and stuff these days too. But I lead a team of around 50 people helping marriages end well in the greater like Austin, San Antonio, Texas area. And what got me here was my own journey. It was very drama llama. There was a lot to it, a whole story. And what I think is a little different that people may not expect is when I got divorced, my kids did not live with me primarily at first. I paid child support. I was the quote unquote dad. I
Mhm.
saw them every other weekend, and there's a whole long story about that. But fast forward a few years later, we had a full custody modification in Texas. That's to a jury trial, like a jury hears it. I know people always
Wow.
like bug-eyed, oh my God.
Yeah.
Um, and my kids, I was successful and did it very differently, kind of the second time around. And my kids relocated to live with me. The whole thing flipped.
Mhm.
And after that experience, some people were like, oh my God, I'm sure you never want to see the inside of a divorce courtroom again, etc. There's that way, run for the hills. But I'm the
Mhm.
sort of person who like has to go back and help. I just cannot even help myself. So I took about, I want to say 6 months or so after that. I had that thought after my trial was over, like I've got to help other people navigate these deep, dark, dense woods. But I
Mhm.
sat on it in case it was emotional. I was working at a big fancy law firm at the time. And anyway, yeah, that idea stuck. And since then have been, all in and diving in on helping people in their marriage as well. And then what happened along the way is, in particular, I saw women making the same mistakes over and over and over again and
Yeah.
coming in unprepared, without a strategy, without a plan.
Mhm.
And I came up with the My Confident Divorce course. And in there, we go through the 4 things you can do to prepare for divorce without losing your kids' money or sanity. And it's something we have, it's free,
Mhm.
that people, your listeners can access if they're already there. And we can talk about that more, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
like, I developed that course and then an online community of women just supporting each other through divorce and beyond. I have my own podcast called Not Saving It for Later, where we do the same kind of conversation, really just going back for the women who are in the same spot I was in. And I didn't have, there wasn't podcasts that much. It was like over 10 years ago. Podcasts were newish. At least I didn't know about podcasts. There wasn't all this social media videos. Nobody was posting videos on the internet back then, y'all, in
Mhm.
2014. And so anyway, that's how we find each other. Just
Yeah.
just in here doing the work with women, trying to help them not make the same mistakes that I did.
Oh, I love that. And I think that's, the beautiful part of the difficult things that we go through is that if we can orient ourselves after time, I don't want to say this happens right away, but after some time, if we can reflect back on them and reorient ourselves to them from a place of positivity, then we can share all that we've learned with people on the same road behind us. So
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So let's talk about, and you focus specifically on women in midlife, correct?
Well, so yes, and I mean, the divorce firm, Hembry Bell Law, we work with, I always say women and good guys. And so we have about 60% women, I think 40% guys as clients at the firm.
Okay.
But the work I do in the podcast and the circle and the course, that's women. I mean, it's really for any women, but the people like those stats you quoted at the beginning, right? A
Yeah.
lot more of those are more midlife. And what does that even mean? I'm sure you'd get a different answer depending on who you ask. There's people out there trying to live to be 150 or whatever. So, but it's generally speaking, most women later 30s and up, I
Okay.
think, who are drawn to the universe.
Okay. And so why, so let's we put the statistics out there. So let's first start with like why? Why do you think these numbers are rising so dramatically? Like what's happening inside marriages that is leading to them needing to see you?
I think there'd be multiple factors at play, right? I think that the women in the ages that you're talking about have more money and more authority over money at that period in life than any women in the history of ever, right?
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
were the generation that was able to earn a decent living, keep hold of it, and so money gives you options. There's this
Hmm.
amazing Judge Judy clip that talks about a woman making her own money, and more than anything, it gives you choices. And so I
Yeah.
think that them having more money, us having more money, gives us
Hmm.
more options.
Yeah.
And along with that, we have the rise of information availability. What used to be taboo and not talked about, divorce and everything that goes with it, are like, ooh, don't ask about what happens behind closed doors. Now people take you into behind their closed doors with the video camera on their
Mm.
phone and post it all over God's green internet.
Yeah.
So we're aware a lot more. And I think that that awareness and that access to information about what's normal. How should I
Yeah.
be treated? Used to, you'd burrow down and be alone. That's where I was when I got
Yeah.
divorced, when I was 30. I was turning 30 whenever I was going through this. There wasn't all this information. But I think now
Hmm.
they have that. That's why those numbers are rising. They know what is out there. They have learned a bit about what they should expect. They see what other people are going through. And I also think that we can't diminish the rise of the premenopause, menopause women because we're having that conversation about, hey, I
Hmm.
shouldn't just feel like crap all the time. Getting these hormones checked. Um, getting our health back, not just being like, oh, look at the image on the Golden Girls of what 45 looked like then versus 45 now. 45 is the new 25. And so for some people. Um,
Hmm.
and so I think that the role of women having the discussions and talking about our health, making us feel better and want more and not being willing to just be put out to pasture in our own lives. And I
Hmm.
think all of that has led to this generation of women. Think about it, the ones of us who are in our 40s, we're the first crew that kind of grew up with, in high school maybe or so, the internet was on the stage for me, a
Hmm.
little bit before, right? We're the first crew that has grown up from teenagers. Now there's ones who grew up from zero, but from teenagers forward on the internet and with
Hmm.
access to all this information. And so we're, I think, less likely to just grin and bear it.
Yeah.
And so I think there's this collective awareness among women about like, wait a minute, I don't have to live a life that medium sucks. Like, this is it. I don't have to just be at least mildly miserable for my whole life. I've got enough money. I've got the information and support that I need. I've got my girlfriends. Women are now able to do more. And like, there's these communities of women where women are building communities that men can't live in because they want to just be old and retire together, not deal with their BS. So I think all of those factors are contributing to that rising rate.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I want you to go back and explain what medium sucks means because I read that on your website and I was like, that's so good. So explain to the audience what medium sucks means.
Yeah, to me, medium suck is that space between like traumatic, panic-inducing, terrible disasters, like physical abuse, cancers, very big disasters. And then on the other end of the spectrum would be, I'm putting my hands up like a number line, y'all. So like on the other end of the spectrum would be, let's say, thriving, living your best life, like fully fulfilled. And I think of the medium suck as everything in between, kind of like that real zero on that number line, where
Mhm.
it's like everything is just this quiet, kind of predictable, meh feeling.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
that sad about anything necessarily. You're not that happy either. You've just numbed out. You've lost connection with yourself. You've lost connections with hopes and dreams. You can't remember the last time you actually like wanted or yearned for something. You're living day to day, week to week, just shuffling kids and shit around everywhere. Just trying, you're basically living the same day or week over and over again and calling it a life.
Yes.
And if somebody asks you, like, what are you passionate about? Like, uh, I guess my kid's soccer practice. And I was telling my husband actually last night, it's like, I'm such a pro at avoiding oncoming calamity. And what I mean is, like, so much of my life, and I know everybody listening for the most part can relate to this, has been spent and is currently spent seeing a problem coming for me and trying to get ahead of it and solve it. Now I'm a business owner and I've got all this stuff going. So I have the sort of breadth of my problems, maybe not the depth,
Mhm.
but the breadth um, is pretty wide. So there's a
Mhm.
lot of scanning I do at all times to watch for problems on the way. And I think all of us in our own version of our own lives as women, we do that. We have this survival skill of instead of actually living and seeking pleasure and feeling that way, we're just trying to manage an avoidance of pain in some way or another. And
Yeah.
all of us know the absence of pain does not equal pleasure.
Yes, absolutely. That's such a great point. And I think you can apply it to even just specifically in your marriage. Like your marriage could medium suck, right? Like you don't
Oh,
have a partner who's abusive. There's nothing, there's nothing terrible about the marriage, right? It's kind of like we just accept it. This is what it's like to be married for 25 years. This is what it's like. We have teenagers and we have jobs and we whatever. Like this marriage is not fulfilling me, but should I get a divorce over it? Because it's not, no one is doing anything that would be considered so horrible that it would prompt a divorce because in what you're talking about, well, I'm kind of living in this like flat zone, but it's
yeah.
avoiding the pain zone, right?
Yeah.
I'm just sustaining myself in this kind of medium sucks, right, space so that I don't have to dive into the pain of either fixing this or choosing to not fix it and move on. So I think
Well, and I
that's
think that that's where most marriages live, to be honest. And what it, I'm going to actually like write that down in a second. So,
yeah.
um, is in this space of law. And I think
Hmm.
what that is, all a marriage is two people joined up, usually in the same house, usually in the same bed in life. And if each person hasn't done the work, isn't committed to living a fully passionate, purposeful life, then the sum total of those two people's union together will not equal, like I'm talking like a math teacher, it will not equal this vibrant relationship. And I'm divorced, but I'm remarried. And I'm definitely going about it very differently. Like I used to talk about my first marriage very differently. As I've grown and done the mindset work and the personal development work, I've learned that it takes two people to create whatever that marriage was.
Hmm.
And what you tolerate persists, right? And you have to, well, my recommendation to people or invitation is that you take full personal responsibility for your life, and that includes your marriage. And if
Hmm.
your marriage is meh, then why is that? What are you
Right.
putting in? Okay, you want to point the finger at him, then we all know you got three fingers pointing back at you. So, like, what's
Mhm.
your part in this? And that part's sticky because we can get really focused on all the other things that the other person is doing. And a lot of that is super valid. And I'm not diminishing that there are a lot of assholes out there. Did we say cuss words on the
Yeah.
show? Sorry.
Oh, yes, you can 100%
Okay.
say yes,
I was like,
yes.
I was like, I should put it in the pre-questions. Like, do we say
Yeah.
cuss words?
Right.
There's a lot of assholes out there doing a bunch of messed up stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you're in this marriage that's rare, and that was what we, kind of talked about up top too, you have a decision to make. Now, your continued staying in that state is your tacit consent to what's happening. That's on you, sister. Your
Mhm.
me marriage is your problem. It's your creation. Now, you may be in a marriage that I don't care if, Jesus and Buddha and all the good witches were standing in front of both of y'all. You may not change, right? That other guy
Mhm.
may not be willing to change. Okay. But have you done the work? Have you gotten okay with you? Have you dug deep to find your purpose and fulfillment? Are you
Yeah.
healthy? Are you moving your body? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you thriving in your friendships at work? Are you sitting around waiting on this marriage to fill you up? Because I
Yeah.
have news. It will not. Even the best marriage in the world is an addition to yourself. It is
Yeah.
not the root of who you are.
Yeah.
Everybody in a good marriage knows it's great and really important, but it can only be that if you and you are doing okay, right? And then it
Yeah.
becomes supportive and a good partner and helpful. But I think a lot of people, they are going to go between two extremes, or not extremes, but two ends of the pole. My marriage is meh, better just suck it up, buttercup. Life is not all roses. Things are difficult, whatever. There's that end. And then the other end is, I want a beautiful marriage. I want a romantic blah, 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 blah thing. But
Yeah.
he. And
Yeah.
then there's this other spot of like, okay, what do I need to do, be, have, become for my own self, independent of this marriage?
Mm.
Do that.
Yeah.
I think that we have the choice to make of like, and from my lived experience, that's how I learned this. Of instead of like, oh, my husband, XYZ, whatever my beef might have been. Okay, me not waiting, me not putting my life on hold, me
Mm.
not um thinking, oh, I'll save that for later. That's the idea of the podcast, right? I'll save all those things for later. Once, I don't know what I was waiting on, my husband to do something. And instead, I started doing the work on my own self. That's how, like, if you're in this marriage that feels meh, medium sucky, this would be my advice. Let it be known to your partner that what kind of marriage you want to have. That's the first thing I
Mm.
would do. Are y'all aligned in what you wish for?
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't give a shit about a soulfully connected partnership, honestly.
Mhm.
Maybe all he cares about is somebody who can sleep with him once a week, cook his meals, clean up his house, and take care of his kids. And he's not willing to do anything to create that with you.
Yeah.
That could be true. Okay. And the degree to which a person can grow is directly proportional to the amount of truth we can accept about ourselves without running
Mhm.
away. So that's a Viktor
Mhm.
Frankl quote, I think. So, like, that truth may be hard to hear.
Mm.
And the path forward through the rest of your life is through those sticky, hard places you're avoiding.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to ask, like, okay, number one, what kind of a marriage do we want to create? And can we get aligned on what that marriage is? And maybe he doesn't know. Maybe you got to give him some time to learn. Maybe just sharing what it is that you want. What do you want to see in a marriage? That might inspire him. Maybe you share with him what you want and invite him. This is the what changed for me, and this is really me just speaking from like being remarried, is less of a demand and more of an invitation.
Mm.
And less of you've got to XYZ. My husband Drew is an angel, okay? Whatever I was even talking about at the time, right? But I don't know. But just the point of like demanding versus here's what I want, and you're
Mhm.
invited.
Yeah.
I want a marriage like this with you. I'm going to have that marriage in my life, and I really want it to be this one with us, right? That invitation, it's different. The men can accept an invitation in a way they won't meet your demand, I think,
Yeah.
if it's meant to be, if it can be. And then it's about, okay, you've made your point, and then I think it's you leading by example, you doing the work, you going to
Mhm.
therapy, you enjoying hobbies, you not sitting around waiting on him to change, because probably he's not going to. In general, men are creatures of habit and they take forever. So any change that's going to come will come in modeling. Maybe if they think they really might lose you, maybe they'll be inspired by what you're doing. Like, wait a
Mhm.
minute, but that takes some time. It takes some
Yeah.
patience. And the answer is not hopping out of one frying pan and into the other fire. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not in another man's bed. Because guess what? It's like there's this quote I saw in some comedian's thing like, I don't care how hot she is, there is some guy somewhere sick of her shit. And it made me laugh. Same thing for these guys, right? Um, uh, and I think the thing that you can do is be that change. And you know what?
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
great news is you get to have a good time.
Yeah.
But it takes you taking ownership for your life experience. Are you
Mhm.
willing to go have a hobby? And he's like, okay, well, I don't have time for that, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you can let that be the case or hire yourself a babysitter. Well, I don't have enough money, Hannah. Have you heard of Uber? Have you heard of
Mhm.
DoorDash? Have you heard of like all these things? We
Mhm.
live in the like AI bots and shit people are making money with. Like we live in the greatest time to be in life. It's not perfect, obviously. But in this context, there are options available to you.
Mhm.
And some hobbies are free. You know what's free? Going to the park, walking around the track at your local
Mhm.
school, meeting up with a girlfriend to, just read books that you got from the library or DVDs from I don't, do they do DVDs at the library? I don't know. A
I think
movie
they
you
still do
checked out.
DVDs at the library. Yeah.
Yeah, Netflix, you probably already pay for. Invite her
Yep.
over. Well, what my husband, I don't care what he says. You're living your life. But I think so many
Yeah.
women get into this habit of deferring and
Mhm.
not centering themselves in their own life. Abby Eckel, this like awesome gal on the internet, makes the best stuff. And she is talking about that concept, how we've centered the men in our lives. And I think
Mhm.
of it as, and the way I used to have talked about it is, you are the main character in your own movie. But so many of us live like we're supporting actors.
Mhm.
And he's the star. Mm-mm,
Yeah.
mm-mm. Why would you do that? Or why
Yeah.
would you continue to do that? So I think that like being in a marriage, it first of all, like I guess very first is what do you want? Talking to him about what him or her, depending on your obviously if what kind of couple, them about what they want.
Mhm.
Then you living the life and seeing what they do with it. You're gathering data and you're gathering
Yeah.
information. And then I always say before you're ever going to file for divorce, in my mind, you got to be able to sleep at night. And so for me, that looks like doing everything I could at that time with the information and resources available to me before I was willing to walk away. So for a lot of people, people could go back in my life and say, we could have, I'm sure there were other things I could have done, but I did at the time what seemed like everything I could. Go into marriage counseling, trying for years. And women consider divorce for years. Men take months. If they're the file, that's
Mm.
why they don't file. They ain't gonna, why would they give you up?
Mhm.
No, ma'am. It'd have to be really bad or he's got a new girlfriend. That's why, for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and there are abusive situations to men, so I don't diminish that. It's just obviously not the norm. Um, but then, okay, so you've done all of this and it's still not changing. He's unwilling to change. He doesn't want what you want, whatever. Okay, but if you've gone through the steps and you know you can sleep at night, then when you get ready and start getting prepped up to file for divorce, you'll know that you've done everything that you could do. And it helps
Yeah.
you, believe me, as your ghost of Christmas future, it helps you for later feel better when your kids are bawling their eyeballs out because how come mommy and
Yeah.
daddy can't live in the same house? You know, in your soul, between
Yeah.
you and your seat bedroom ceiling when you're laying awake that you did everything you could. Because if you
Yeah.
left something on the table, you're going to regret it, probably. I mean, unless there's safety and stuff, but you know what I mean.
Right, right. We're not talking about the extreme, yeah, the extreme cases
Right.
of abuse and neglect and things that are obviously run for your life, get out, get your kids out. But yeah, I 100% agree with you. You have to know that you did everything that you could and that it still wasn't enough and that this just was not, it's not meant to be anymore. I love that you're talking about doing your own work. Like, I think that sometimes, even when we realize, even if we are in a meh marriage or even like a worse than meh marriage,
Yeah.
we don't always know. We know we want it to be better, but we don't always know how to make it better or what that would look like even
Yeah.
to have a better marriage. And so doing your own work really helps you to clarify that. What actually do you want in your life and in your partnership? What
Yeah.
actually would make you feel fulfilled in this relationship and in your life? What kind of patterns are you holding on to, behavioral patterns, thought patterns that are actually blocking you from getting that thing that you
Yeah.
actually want or having that relationship that you actually want? And until we get clarity on a lot of those answers, how can we even create this relationship that we say that we want? Because we can't define it. We can't, we can't verbalize our true feelings. We're just saying,
Yeah.
this isn't good. Let's make it better.
Right.
But what is
Well,
better? What is better mean?
And I think too, here, y'all, just I'm such a practical person. Practically, when you do the exercises of that, you do the journal prompts, you listen to podcasts like Katie's, you buy the books, you listen to Mel Robbins, like you're doing all of this. You know what that does? It it brings your energy and vibration up, your frequency up. It also like gets you less focused on his BS. It starts to
Hmm.
put you as the main character in your
Hmm.
energy. And you know what men are drawn to like moths to a flame? Women who are the main characters in their own stories.
Yeah.
What now? They may be used to you, and there may be some gnawing and gnashing of teeth when you pull this power back to yourself, this energy back to your own life. But you're going to have kind of a good time. It feels good to do this stuff.
Yeah.
And it gives you something to do, like where you're not bored or you're
Yeah.
not like it's not boring to do this work.
Yeah.
You have to be disciplined about it. And if you're doing it the right way, as I'm sure you know, Katie, you dig into some rough stuff.
Hmm.
But everything good is on the other side of those hard places we don't want to get
Yes.
into. And
Yes.
so I think that the value is there and it goes together with maybe getting you what you want in your current marriage. And even if not, you can have a pretty good time doing it. There are a lot of women doing this. And you know what's more, there ain't much more fun in life than women with women having a good time. Like what else do we really need, to be honest? Not that much.
Yeah.
And that I just don't want it to seem like it has to be drudgery or terrible.
Yeah.
Like you can release yourself from the responsibility of holding him up and holding this together
Hmm.
and put that energy back on yourself. And just that's what happens when people get divorced. And we talk about the divorce glow up. You know what's happened? She called all her energy back to her own self and invested
Yes.
in her own life. That's what happened. It's not that all of a sudden she started working out, although maybe you have some more energy and time and you do that, but it's more so that they they call all their energy back to their own selves and spend it in a way that suits them as the main character.
Yes, I love that. The divorce glow up. That's fantastic. I have not heard that term before.
Oh,
Like
okay. Yeah, in my world, it's like such a thing.
it's such a thing. The divorce glow up. And it's so you are absolutely right. It is all about the energy that they bring back to themselves. And I do really feel like you're like you've had a somehow been like peering through into my life for the past 7 years because this is how it all began for myself. And I totally agree with you. We call it the work, right? Call it like self-discovery work. And yes, you are going to like come up against some hard stuff and there is going to be some sticky spots, but actually also it's a lot of fun. And, Eckhart Tolle talks about the two, Eckhart Tolle is a pretty well-known
Oh, yep.
spiritual
I know
teacher.
exactly who that is.
Yes, and he talks about the two dimensions of life, the horizontal dimension and the vertical dimension. And most of us are living in that horizontal dimension, right? We are going to work, we're taking care of the kids, we're taking care of our house, we're on the hamster wheel, what I call the hamster wheel of life. And it can get very monotonous and boring and blah, right? And the vertical dimension is the depth of life, right? It's really like the truth, capital T, truth of life and of the beauty of life. And that's where all of this work places you. It takes you off the hamster wheel, off that horizontal plane, and it sinks you into the beautiful depth and just magic that exists in everyday life in every single moment. You're not going to feel it in every single moment, right? Not setting that expectation, but you can feel it a lot. You can walk through your day every day or most days feeling like even though there were hard parts of the day, even though there were parts of the day that you wouldn't prefer, even though your emotions may be kind of all over the place or up and down, there was also a lot of magic there. And that is what this work does. And so when I turned 40, I said to my husband, my kids had gotten slightly older. We were out of like the little kid phase. And I was
Yep.
like, every year I'm going to just do one thing for myself, whether that's going on a retreat or taking a training or whatever it is. I'm just going to, I don't care how much money it costs. I don't care what kind of child care we have to get into place. Like, I'm just going to do it. And that has massively snowballed over
Yeah,
the
it
years.
does. It
It
does.
does. But it's a beautiful thing because I did exactly what you were talking about. I was like, the focus is coming back to me. Now I'm gonna like place not all, I'm gonna place a lot of energy and attention on growing myself into the person that I believe that I am, but I'm not living that life currently because my focus and attention and energy have been pulled in so many different directions for the past 40 years. And as a result, my kids have watched me do that. My husband has
Yes.
watched me do that. And it has absolutely impacted them. Now, my husband and I recently got to the point where I was like, listen, I invited him, right? So first it
Good.
was he was just watching me and he would make little comments like, I wish I could be more like you, or
Mm,
I have a chronic pain disorder, and he's like, I don't know how you like do what you do with what you go through all the time. Like, he's noticing how these changes have impacted me, right?
mm.
And then we got to a place where I was like, so I need to invite you along on this journey with me. I've kind of done this alone and let you continue to ride the way you've been riding. But that's actually where I am now, no longer sufficient for me. And
Yes.
so, like you said, I want to do this with you. I want to have this type of relationship with you. I want, this is what I want in a partnership, and I want that with you, but you have to come on the ride, right? So I invite
Yeah,
you.
you know what? And men are so fortunate that they've got such good women in their lives, willing to take the lead, take the right. What if we had a world of men who did the work and invited us? Can you
Yes.
imagine?
Can you imagine?
But I don't know, since the history of time, it's been, all those sayings about behind every good man is a good woman, but like
Yeah.
these women doing the work, good for you, and then inviting them. And how
Yeah.
fortunate they are that we're out there figuring it out and saying, you know what? Come along. Come
Yeah.
along, come look and see what I've discovered,
Yes.
right? Good.
Yeah.
I'm so glad, Katie.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he's a full yes and all in.
He
That's what
is.
good for him. He will
I
be.
I will tell you, he really is. He is open and willing. Change is never quick, right? For no one ever is change easy or fast. But I happen to be very lucky to be married to someone who's very open and willing to do the work.
Good.
So I
Good.
believe we will get there. But yes, it's just this. It just the trajectory I took was exactly what you described.
Mm.
And so if that's happening to me, I know that's happening to a lot of other people out there.
Yeah.
And that last part of the invitational part, I think can be the scariest part because what if I invite my partner and they say no? Or they say
Good.
yes, but
Wait,
they don't
wait.
actually follow through,
Good. Good. Good.
right?
Here's why that's good news. You have a data point. You have the truth. We don't ask for the truth and then get mad at it. Okay? So you've asked for the truth and you have it. Accept it. Thank him for telling you the truth. He's giving you an enormous gift.
Yeah.
Because then what? Now the real work comes. You said you wanted XYZ life. You said you wanted to live on purpose and be fulfilled. And this person said, yeah, the thing that's going to fulfill you, I just don't care that much about it. Okay, honey bunny. Now what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Do you want it or not? That's how life is. And I don't necessarily believe in tests. And it's also true that pretty much every time in my life, something amazing is about to happen. I have a test of a lesser good. And yeah, I need to write that down. The test of the lesser good. That's good. And what I mean is, and maybe he'll make a couple changes. Maybe he will start helping you load the dishwasher now. Okay. But the
Mhm.
conversation is really not about the dishwasher. The dishwasher is the
Yeah.
smallest symptom of a bigger problem. And now that you know, at least you know. And then it
Yeah.
comes to, are you going to be bold and courageous and living your one wild and precious life or not? And
Yeah.
then be honest with yourself. Are you willing to do something about that truth? Or are you going to tolerate it? And maybe there are reasons to tolerate it. Maybe you've got like, a 2 and 3 year old. And like, okay, you may think I need to get them to teen, like whatever the reason is. Or you've got kids in the house and you want to wait till they get out of school or whatever. I don't advise waiting in those ways. You never know how many minutes you've got left.
Mhm.
Um, in this planet. And so I don't believe in rash decisions, but I also don't believe in delaying action on truth that you know, like capital
Yeah.
K, no in your heart.
Yeah.
So if they say no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you chose a situation, created a situation with someone who doesn't want to meet you where you are now. And that's okay because when y'all were kiddos and got married or however long ago it was, y'all were
Mhm.
different people. Those
Yeah.
people committed to forever. But you know
Yeah.
what? Every 7 years, our whole skin turns over. We are
Mhm.
literally, all our cells are something sciencey. We're literally not the same people. So this me doesn't commit to that deal. I wasn't a part of that conversation. This me is how I think of it.
Hmm.
And so, okay, in my mind, every day you wake up with a new choice. So, do you want to stay? Give him however much chances you need, whatever it is you have to do to be able to sleep at night, and then begin the step in the first step in the fork in the road that's the rest of your life, right?
Hmm.
Um, and and think about it. People who actually get divorced, I say you have a choice. You can be bitter or better, and you get to choose. Think about all the women you know who are divorced, where you can think of maybe you knew the husband and you're like, he kind of sucks. Um, and she got divorced. Think of everybody that you know where that's true. Everybody listening, think of that. Okay, think of it. What do you see? You see women who are, generally speaking, happier, probably healthier, moved on to better relationships, better in their career, right? That choice works out because fortune favors the bold.
Hmm.
And I don't mean necessarily money fortune, although maybe, yeah. I mean all kinds of fortune, health, wealth, time resources, energetic resources, all of that. And so like when you make that bold decision, when a decision is made, the whole universe conspires to help you achieve it. So
Hmm.
I'm sorry that you have to make that decision. And I wish it were different. And yet it's not. Like there's this thing I do when I don't like something. Like a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world right now, I don't like it. Um, so I acknowledge, say your marriage,
Hmm.
that is not my preference. This marriage is not my preference. Him not wanting to do the work with me is not my preference. And yet, that's the acceptance. Just accept. He is a sovereign person living his own life. He gets to decide for himself. But he doesn't get to keep you and drag you down at the same time unless you
Hmm.
let him. So,
Hmm.
okay, that is not my preference. And yet, we begin. So, are you ready to begin? Are
Yeah.
you ready for your life actions to live up with what you know inside? And I
Yeah.
never met a woman who was tuned in, tapped in, turned on to her internal voice, that intuition, that knowing in our hearts, who didn't act in a way that was best for her. If she's really there, right? So listening to that still small voice for real, not the fear voice, not the anxious voice, not what will my mama say, not will my kids lives be ruined forever. The one who just knows. Listen to her
Yeah.
in that moment. And the question would just be, okay, now that you know it's not your preference, and yet we begin. You would prefer, every woman would prefer her current marriage fit her, meet her needs, serve the best version of her life. No woman wants to get divorced. Hello, of course not.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not our preference. And yet we begin. That's
Hmm.
where the divorce part can come in.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, it's awareness, acceptance. That's what you're talking about. And then movement, right?
Yeah,
Movement
action.
into alignment. Because that's what you're talking about. You're talking about, I have this internal knowing or truth, and it's inside of me. But what I'm doing in the actual material world, what the decisions I'm making, the relationships that I'm having, all those types of things, the things that are even coming out of my mouth are not in alignment with what I know my internal truth to be. And I think that's where the glow up comes in, because when we move into alignment, that
Mhm.
when our energy, our inside energy and our outside energy are in alignment, that's when the universe comes in, right? Because the universe works
Mhm.
with people who are in alignment, because that's
Mhm.
where the energy flows. That's where we can get into flow. So that is, I love that. I love that. And I think it's really hard. It's really hard to get to a place where you feel really good in your body, in your mind, in your soul, in your nervous system when you are out of alignment. It's just actually
It's not gonna
impossible.
happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. No. So let's say you reach that point and you're like, okay, I've done this work. I 100% know that this is what is right for me. It's about to happen. I need to like initiate this divorce. What recommendations do you have for women?
Well, I would truly recommend that they go to hannahembrybell.com/circle. Get in the circle with the women who are contemplating. It's free. All this stuff is free, y'all. We're guiding them through divorce and beyond, building up this community. So you're in there with other people who say, oh God, you know what? Me too. And In there, you get access to the divorce prep course where we talk through the 4 things you can do, bare bones to get started. Because here's the thing, we want you to start taking some actions before you ever file your papers so that you're in the best possible position. We hope it'll go great. We hope your marriage can end, consciously uncoupling and all that, but hope is not a strategy. And that's when
Mhm.
you have to get from, into the action portion. Drill down and okay, here's some steps. The first thing you're going to do is start with the end in mind. You're going to get very clear, like we're talking about, what is that life that I want? And so many
Mhm.
people skip this step. But here's the thing, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
Mhm.
So if you get really clear on what does the end look like? What do I want my life to look like at the end of this divorce or in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? So that you get clear on that so that you can take aligned action now.
Yeah.
The next thing you do, and this is all just born out of my own experience, you create your all but done plan, ABD plan. And that's a plan that you have in place in case all of a sudden he files for divorce, in case something happens and you got to go. You need your equivalent of a go bag plan so that sometimes these things have a way of like, or he'll figure out what you're doing. You're kind of working on a divorce or something and may confront you. What are you going to do? How are you going to handle that? How are you going to pay your rent? Getting those particulars about how to get ready to go, just so that you have that peace of mind and know.
Mhm.
Third thing you're going to do is become the parent of the year and be able to prove it. So you're going to audit your parenting decisions and get really clear on whether, how that would kind of go in court or mediation. This is when you might be talking to a lawyer and getting some advice, and then start to make some maybe small, maybe large adjustments and allow a little time to pass because it's really hard once you filed to make any changes to your life because people are just like, oh, you only did that because you filed for divorce. And then the fourth thing you're going to do, which is a booger, but you're going to get your divorce notebook ready. That's where you're going to gather all your financial information, different potential evidence that you would need in your case. In the course, there's a document with like, I don't know, 50 something things that you can start to gather so that when you go into your divorce lawyer's office in the future, you got all your shit together. And some of
Mhm.
that stuff has a way of walking off. Once you file. So you do this sort of slowly and steadily and stealthily, um,
Mhm.
kind of under the radar, like a duck. You're gonna be like a duck, calm
Yeah.
on top, paddling like hell underneath. And so that you are not caught flat-footed. It's very difficult to get all that shit together when you're in the middle of what feels like your entire life crumbling underneath you.
Yeah.
So doing it ahead of time will set you up really, really well. And a lot of people,
Yeah.
they're not going to listen to me. I'm telling all of them all this because women put, and here's the thing, that's why I just try to get them because you're putting all your energy into the divorce decision. And I did this. And then you think once you finally have decided, you've like made it. But the
Yeah.
problem is you're really just getting started
Yeah.
because it's a whole nother process. And maybe y'all will be amicable and nice and fine like Gwyneth Paltrow, but like a lot of y'all ain't going to be, no matter what he says,
Yeah.
because he don't want you to leave. He don't want you to go. You're a
Yeah.
cutie and you're sweet and you take care of his kids and all these things and you're his wife, don't you know?
Mhm.
So a lot of times they don't act how you think they might act. Hopefully you can get there eventually, but we're going to get ready and you're not going to get caught flat-footed so that
Yeah.
you can get this phase. It sucks, it's hard, it's shitty, and you can do it.
Yeah.
It's worth it. Ask any woman living and thriving after their divorce, they'll tell you it was worth it. But it
Mhm.
can really suck. So it's like, let's get as ready as we can beforehand so we can get this phase of our lives over with and move on to our highest and best after.
Yeah. Yeah. And so all of those things you mentioned are like after you've made the decision, but before you've actually filed. Then once you've filed, are there common mistakes that women in particular make during the divorce process? Do you see
Oh yeah, a million. I mean,
commonalities?
one of those things is continue to trust the person they're divorcing like they're their still husband in a fiduciary
Mm,
relationship. Once y'all have like drawn a line in the sand, you're kind of on enemy lines. And I don't mean to mean war analogy, but you kind of have to treat it a little bit like that at first. It's there's only one pie, right? I'm holding up a circle like a pie. There's only one pie. And if you get a piece, he don't get that piece. So it
mhm,
naturally puts us at
mhm,
odds.
mhm,
So, and what some women kill me. It's like, well, my husband said that you're not even a good lawyer because blah, blah, blah reasons. I'm like, you're listening to the person that you're divorcing about whether or not I'm a good lawyer. Are you kidding me? But it happens a lot. It
Yeah.
happens a lot because they're still putting this trust. You got to knock that
Yeah.
shit off. He is not to be trusted right now. This is not the moment. Maybe you can rebuild that in the future and y'all can be best buddies, but it ain't right now. I'm telling you, it is not right now. Another thing women do is they want it, they remember, they think they did all the work by making the divorce decision. So then they want it over as quickly as possible. And they'll come in and say, oh, he can have absolutely everything. I just want the kids.
Mhm.
You don't have to make that choice. I don't care if he acts like you have to make that choice, that to get the kids, you get to keep everything. He has to keep everything. And they just try to like cut it off too quickly and not see it all the way through in a methodical, thoughtful,
Yeah.
strategic way. Um, a lot of women have affair partners during their marriage and going through the divorce, and they're jumping straight from one frying pan into the next fire. And they will make that mistake, and then their decisions during their divorce are clouded by a
Mm.
relationship that is unlikely to last.
Mhm.
Your best thing you could do, even if you have a affair partner, I'm not judging you. People are just trying to get their needs met. That's why somebody has an affair, because they're not getting their needs met for the most part.
Mhm.
I'm not judging you for it, but it will complicate your life if you
Yeah.
do that. Let's see, women, problems. I would say that's probably the biggest three that come straight into my brain. Or
Okay.
the other thing, and I don't deal with a bunch of women like this, but women who vilify their husband because they want to win in the parenting thing or they want to hurt him. There's this like group
Mhm.
of women that can be kind of vindictive. And there's these like, like that Carrie Underwood song before he cheats, like I'm gonna
Yeah.
put my heel into the side, that whole
Yeah.
thing. That energy, and then like somehow like using your kids as your therapist and bestie and
Oof.
and putting them in the middle of these adult thoughts and conversations that will come back to bite you with the children and with him and a judge and everything else. But I don't deal with that many women who would act that way, but it will screw you. You are screwing yourself when you do that.
Yeah. Well, those are all great. Thank you for sharing those with my audience. And I love that you have this program that's free and available to everyone because it sounds like it's a community. And if you are all going through the same things, you're there to support one another and hopefully in a way that uplifts you versus pulls you down, right? Because I'm sure in a divorce situation, we can get stuck in some pretty awful negative
Yes.
patterns about how awful he is and what he's doing and how unfair it is. And, those are all actually maybe true, but to get stuck there is really unhealthy and is not serving you at all. So to be able to create a container where people understand but can still be uplifting for one another is it's a really wonderful thing for people going through such a difficult time to have.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
I'd love to. Yeah, everybody, y'all come on. Come on.
Yeah. All right, so we're almost at the end. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you want to make sure that the listeners hear? Anything we didn't talk about that you wanted to make sure you made a point of?
Yeah, the one thing I'd say, and in case nobody's ever told y'all or y'all haven't heard this lately, that is that you are worthy of having a happy life.
Hmm.
You deserve a happy life. You're worthy simply because you exist. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to prove it. You don't have to be different, skinnier, taller, prettier, richer
Hmm.
to deserve and be worthy of a good life.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of women really don't know their own worth.
yeah,
And if you're a blockhead like me, it takes me getting to the rock bottom to rebuild my own worth from the inside out. So I just want you to know that you deserve a good life. And I hope it doesn't require a divorce to get you there. But if it does, it's going to be okay. You're going to be all right. And you'll be a lot better off and a lot stronger. Everything you learn are just little jewels in your crown of
mhm,
life along the way. So hope to see you in the circle.
yeah. Oh, that was absolutely beautifully stated, and I could not agree with more with everything that you said. So
Oh.
thank you for that. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for
And
having me, Katie. This
oh,
was
it
great.
was my pleasure. I could have, I could always go on forever with my guests. It's always so nice connecting with people like yourself. So I really appreciate you being here.
Oh, thanks. Awesome. Well, I'll look forward to when the episode comes out.
All right, sounds good. All right.
Okay, thanks, Katie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, my friends, wherever you are in your journey of marriage and of life, I hope you were able to take something away from my conversation with Hannah. Most of all, that last piece, that last part that she said, I really want you to know that you deserve to love yourself deeply, to love yourself more than anyone else, more than your partner, more than your children. Love yourself. And when you do that, you will be able to give so much more love into the world. So that is my wish and my hope for you, that you get to a place where you you are in love with yourself. Okay, so with that being said, I invite you to head on over to the show notes or to katiefarinas.com and sign up for my newsletter. Comes out once a week on Mondays. It is ancient wisdom for modern times. It's stories about my own life and my own journey in this phase of midlife. It is science backed information. It is journal prompts and exercises. It's reflections and awareness. It's just another way of staying in touch with me and with the work that we do here on the Midlife Purpose Project. And if you would like to stay in touch even further, head on over to Substack and sign up for my Substack account. You can do that on your desktop or through the Substack app. And I usually post notes over there on Substack 2 to 3 times a day. And I'm planning on starting some community containers there as well, meditation groups and workshops, things like that. So if you want to stay in this community and in this work, it really helps. I will tell you that if you're on this journey of self-discovery, it is really something that you do have to do for yourself, and you do a lot of work on your own. But in order to stay motivated to continue to do the work, it is so helpful to continuously be in community and to be inspired to do the work. So that is what the Substack community is all about for me. It's inspiring you to stay on the path of self-discovery, to stay on the path to uncovering your true purpose, your dharma, to loving yourself deeply, to coming to know yourself profoundly, and to really settling into who you are actually meant to be. And that does require, I still regularly go to things that inspire me to stay on my own path. And that is what I hope, is that I can be that source of inspiration for you to stay on your path. So if you're interested in staying on the path and receiving the inspiration to do that, sign up for the newsletter, head over to the Substack community, stay in my world, and I will work every day to be a light for you on this journey. All right, my friends, I love you so much. Namaste, and I will see you next time.